Hi, it's producer Todd. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Classical Classroom. We hope you enjoy it. We have been asking you to rate and review us online and share us with friends and all of that, and you've been doing that, and we've been amazed, and we wanted to say thank you. If you haven't had a chance, check it out. It's kind of cool. If you go to iTunes or SoundCloud, you can see some of those reviews that other people have left. People say really nice things sometimes, and sometimes they don't, which is also cool. So anyway, we love getting the feedback because that helps our show and classical music in general continue to
rule the world.
Now, please enjoy the show.
My name is Dacia Clay. I'm the audio librarian here at Classical 91.7. While I'm a real librarian, I have a deep, dark secret. I know very little about classical music. I grew up listening to rock, and I know something about jazz. But when it comes to classical, but I really want to learn. So, every week on this show, a classical music expert will give me a piece of classical music they think I should know, and then we'll discuss it. Come learn with me in the Classical Classroom. Hello everyone and welcome to the Classical Classroom. I'm Dacia Clay, and here with me today are Dicterow and Ingrid Hunter. Dicterow was the concertmaster for the New York Philharmonic for 34 years. He just retired at the end of this past season. He'll be moving on to the University of California's Thornton School of Music. He's played all over the world as a recitalist and a soloist with what appears to be every single major orchestra on the planet. He's also a recording artist. He serves on the faculty at Juilliard and the Manhattan Schools of Music. He's headlining the grand celebratory opening of the 26th season of the Texas Music Festival, which is taking place here on the University of Houston campus. We're actually on site right now at the Music Festival. Ingrid Hunter is the Texas Music Festival concertmaster for week one of the festivities. She's currently doing her doctoral work at the Moore School of Music. She's a native of Brazil, where she started soloing with orchestras at the age of 16. Ingrid studies with Frank Huang, who is the outgoing concertmaster of the Houston Symphony, and she plays professionally with groups all over Houston. Ingrid and Glenn, welcome to the Classical Classroom.
Thank
Pleasure
you.
to be here, Dacia.
And so you're both concertmasters, and so I'm hoping that you will teach me today about what on earth that means.
And we've been asked this how many times? Obviously, me many more times than you.
Well, it's funny that you say that because, I thought, okay, well, I don't know this because I never expect for myself to know anything about classical music, but I've actually talked to classical music people who, when we got the news about Frank, and we posted it to our website at Houston Public Media, classical music people also didn't know what that meant.
Yeah. I think it's easier when you hear this, what we are in England and in most of Europe, you're called leader.
Yeah.
So that sort
okay.
They call leader because way back, a long time ago, when they didn't have conductors, they had the first violinist, like in the string quartet or in any ensemble, if it's a violin, he would be the one leading. In other words, giving the beats, when to start, if there's a tempo change, leading that. I mean, somebody to keep the ensemble together, and that's why they stuck with that name.
And is that where American orchestras got this concept of concertmaster from?
I would think so. That I don't know the origin of when it changed, and why, but it obviously was given that title because it's a hefty title, and there's a lot of responsibility that goes along with that. The larger the orchestra, of course, the more a leader is needed or a concertmaster is needed.
Ingrid, what in brief are the responsibilities of a concertmaster?
Well, I think just from the very beginning, smaller tasks would be tuning the orchestra. So when you go to the concert and everybody's already sitting down, and then you see the concertmaster walk out, and they get kind of a separate bow, and then they tune the orchestra, then the conductor comes in after that. So that's your first task of the concert.
Okay.
outside of the concert, you have to do the bowings so bowings is like how the string players organize the way they play, either up bow or down bow. And so that's the concertmaster's job, to organize the bowings so that all the sections match between the violins, the violas, the cellos, the basses. And you do that in the best way that you can to convey what the conductor is wanting to express.
I see.
You know, so you try to formulate bowings that are best to convey the music.
So
and then
as a concertmaster, you kind of have a partnership
with the conductor,
right? In a more, not necessarily in a bigger sense than the rest of the orchestra, but maybe in a closer sense.
Yeah, I mean, for me, before I start each rehearsal, like say we're learning a new piece, I like to meet with the conductor in advance and just say, what kind of tempo are you looking to do this piece at? Because that will affect the kind of stroke or bowing or just the general idea of how we're going to do the piece.
Yeah.
So I like to consult with the conductor first, and if everybody in the orchestra tried to do that, then it would be kind of chaotic.
Right.
So the concertmaster becomes the leader in that sense, and tries to do their best to convey the idea to the rest of the members of the orchestra.
Gotcha. So it's somebody who's kind of embedded in the orchestra, who carries the vision of the conductor.
Exactly.
And kind of brings it into practice.
Yeah.
Yes, I would have to say, of course, that really is for the choreographing of the bowings. Most important for the strings, of course. String players are the only ones that have bows. And there's only two ways that you can go, either up, meaning toward the ceiling, or down toward the floor. In the case of a cello, it's from left to right. But those are the two directions you can go, and they're either marked with an up sign or a down sign. That's why I mentioned the up and down bowings. But that is more crucial than you would think, and this liaison, this connection between conductor and concertmaster is so important, so much to the level of that some conductors bring their own concertmasters to a new position. Let's say they're they try to get along with the existing concertmaster, but very often I've seen changes take place because it's so important for them to connect spiritually and musically and in so many ways, because they rely on that person to convey their ideas and to support them. Now, concertmasters, if they're good, can outlast the music directors, and that usually the shelf life of a music director is anywhere from 8 to 10 years, and they move on to someplace else. And then you've got the new incoming maestro, and hopefully he will like what you do. I've been very lucky. I've survived four of them.
Wow.
And over 34 years in New York. And, it's just that you have to be the kind of person, very open-minded and very flexible and a real diplomat in every sense of the word throughout the orchestra, not just with the conductor, but with your own section and with the rest of the string players. And actually, there are times when the brass and the winds depend very much on what you're doing as a leader in that seat.
Well, is the concertmaster always a violinist?
Yes.
Okay, always. And is there an easy answer to why that is?
History.
Okay.
I think that's when the start of classical music, when you had concerts in small little chambers and in castles and the where all of this music started, basically with the kings hired you as a composer in residence, and then you would form this little orchestra. When it got to be where you had more than 20 people in an ensemble, it became a little bit difficult to organize all these ideas.
Unwieldy,
And where do you stop, where do you start, how fast are you going to go, just to direct you through it. Very much like a large chorus. If you can imagine, you have a chorus director telling you when to stop, to take a new breath, and to just guide you through it. There are those conductorless ensembles too, who, instead of 4 rehearsals per concert, they'll have typically 15 to 20 rehearsals, because you're playing without a conductor to lead you. So that conductor saves a lot of time. It's very efficient and puts really a stamp on what kind of interpretation that's going to come out of that selection that you're playing.
Well, what relationship, I can kind of understand what relationship a concertmaster might have with the other string players. You're talking about the bowing and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You started to talk about the brass players. How does that relationship go?
They look to you for the leadership when it's not coming from the podium, meaning the conductor.
Yeah.
When there's any sense of guesswork going on, there's got to be one person to set that standard and the stage right then and there. For example, if a conductor forgets to bring you in, it's up to that conductor to make a grand gesture to bring those people in. And if it's nebulous of what the conductor is doing, if he's confused, it happens. It's really important for the brass players to look and see what the strings are doing, and that can be done by the body motion. If things start to fall apart, then we have to sort of kick in and start conducting from the seat, and you can conduct with the scroll of the violin, basically. I've done it on several occasions. I'm sure Ingrid has. I saw her this week do it sometimes. Not that there was confusion, but the conductor is got millions of other sections to govern, and at times you're just needed to keep a certain part of that score together.
On that note, within each section, so the concertmaster is the leader of the strings without a doubt. Then within the winds, you kind of look to the first oboe as the leader of the winds.
Doesn't everyone tune to the oboe as well?
Okay. Yes. And then for the brass, there's the first trumpet player, and then there's timpani for percussion. And I think that those four people are kind of like the superheroes, or just like
You're like the Fantastic Four of the orchestra.
Of the orchestra, because when you have those people all connecting and they are each delivering the message to their sections, and that's how you can kind of make the group really come together.
Okay, so you have sort of, as concertmaster, you have like contemporaries within the orchestra who are carrying this message further into the sections.
Oh yeah, okay. You have a principal of the second violins. You have principal viola, principal cello, and principal bass in the strings.
Okay.
And then you have a lonely harp player if the piece needs it, calls for it, and they're on their own. They've got to follow somebody, and if it's not the conductor, it's going to be the top violin, the concertmaster. As far as the brass, they're in a sort of world all of their own, but they realize that they have to play together with us sometimes.
Yeah.
It's that mentality, but they're so amazing. Most of the really great sections, orchestras have brass and wind sections they can almost play without a conductor.
Yeah.
And very often they do encores without a conductor, and it's unbelievably together. So they're so used to this rhythm, this incredible precision. Of being able to attack together and to release together. They're used to it. They're smaller sections, but you do have your principles strewn throughout the whole orchestra.
I see.
Of every instrument.
I had no idea that there was
it's
such
a huge
like a
organism.
leadership structure.
Yeah,
it's like a little army.
It is. True.
Is concertmaster something that you have to apply for, or is it like being knighted where they're like, you are worthy, you will?
Well, it's usually the concertmaster, as I said, stays until he either leaves or he's asked to leave,
like
or
Supreme Court justices.
Yeah, basically they retire, or they're asked to leave, or for whatever reason it's time to leave. In my case, I've done 34 years, and I got a tenured professor job at USC in Los Angeles, and I said, hey, this is a good time for this to happen, and thought that was just the right time. So I gave them 2 years to find somebody. I announced it, but I kept on playing for another year and a half, while assuming the position of this professorship little by little, and now it's full time. So in a year and a half, they heard many people And there's committees and there's a conductor to sit and listen to all sorts of invited. Usually they're invited because it's such an important position that they have to have. Usually it's a reputation. You don't just come from second year of being in Juilliard and audition for that. No matter how well you play, it's about the experience and the knowledge of how to be able to do this leadership.
Do all orchestras have concertmasters? Is this just across the board, or is it only the majors?
Every orchestra has a concertmaster. You can't have an orchestra without a concertmaster.
Okay. So anything that's...
I mean, if you want to talk about like a rotational type of concertmaster, as I say, like conductorless ensembles such as Orpheus Ensemble in New York, they rotate concertmasters. So, but whoever's sitting in that position at any given time, during whatever concert they're doing, that's the one who leads the orchestra.
I see.
He or she is the first leader. In other words, the conductor will be the concertmaster.
What has been the hardest part about being concertmaster, and what's been the most fun part about being concertmaster? Either of you.
Well, that's not an easy answer because there's so many wonderful things that I've enjoyed throughout my career as concertmaster, and certainly it's working with some of the greatest maestros who ever walked the face of the earth, like Leonard Bernstein and Zubin Mehta, and Mazur and Mazel. We had a lot of M's.
You even named people that I know.
No, I mean, I started with Mehta, we went to Mazur, then we went to Mazel, and we thought maybe Muti was coming, so we made all just the M names.
Nice.
And then Alan Gilbert came in, so he
messed it all up.
Yeah, messed it all up. But no, and I knew him as a kid, so then it's always like family. It's just that it's like good wine. You get good at what you do, and you fall with the punches, and you go with them. Basically, if you're flexible, if you have humility and respect for your colleagues, it can be a great profession, and it has been for me. And the exciting things have been working with these great artists and playing the greatest repertoire that exists in classical music, and even in not classical music. We work with Wynton Marsalis, we work with pop people, even actors come in and do, we do this crossover, sometimes opera and narration. So we practically work with everybody. We've done musicals, Sweeney Todd and South Pacific, and it's been incredible. Everything has been it's been an amazing run. So
you've had all the fun.
I've had all the fun. And working with all these people, it's just never gets boring, because it's hard to get bored when you're doing a different concert every week. Sometimes 2 different concerts every week.
That's a lot of...
Yeah, it's a lot of repertoire to go through, but it makes you a better musician, a better artist, and a better human being, I think.
Ingrid, I'll give you the last question. Since this is your beginning, what are you looking forward to most in being a concertmaster? Is this something that you want to, I don't know how it works. Like, are you setting a precedent for your future right now by being concertmaster at the Texas Music Festival? Or?
Well, I would say that I'm gaining a lot of very good experience. In my future, if I want to be a concertmaster, and I'm successful and win an audition, then it'll be tremendously helpful to have had that experience of leading a section. If that does happen and I do get a job, what I would be looking forward to the most, I think, is I guess we didn't talk very much about chamber music, and but chamber music is when you get to make music with the people around you, basically. And when you are a concertmaster of an orchestra, it's almost like doing chamber music on steroids, because it's chamber music with lots of people.
Yeah.
And I love that feeling of connecting with everybody in the orchestra and feeling like we're all building something together.
Yeah, like that unity of
so
purpose.
I think that's what I would look forward to the most as a professional concertmaster.
That's awesome. Well, good luck to you, Ingrid, and thank
Thank
you
you
for being on the Classical Classroom. Glenn, thank you very much for being on the show. It was great to
Pleasure.
meet you. And I know our Frank Huang is taking over your position.
That's right. In September, he'll be going to New York.
Wow. That's interesting.
It's going to be wonderful for him. And I hope that it goes very well. I have a feeling it will.
No. Everybody in town is very excited.
Yeah. It's exciting,
or they're like sad, excited.
Exciting.
Yeah.
But of course you're losing a wonderful concertmaster here.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I know you've had long, busy days, so I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having us.
All right, that about does it for this episode of Classical Classroom. For more Classroom, go to houstonpublicmedia.org/classroom, or you can listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, etc., etc. Do not forget to rate and review us. We just don't want you to feel guilty about not doing it. You can also follow us on Twitter and Tumblr, or you can email me at dclay@houstonpublicmedia.org. I love getting your emails. Makes my day. Thanks to audio producer Todd, Tarzan Yell, Hulslander for twiddling knobs. Thanks to program director St. John Flynn for teaching me the ways of the Force. Thanks to editor Mark DiClaudio for his piercing cat clock eyes. Thanks to Glenn Dicterow and Ingrid Hunter for being here today. Thanks to the Moore School for having us. Thanks to me for saying words. But most of all, thanks to you for listening. We'll catch you next time.